Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, can you just confirm if you can hear me? Okay, hi. We'll just wait for 4 more minutes and then start our session. Yeah. By the way, how are you doing? What's your level of preparation? If you can all introduce yourselves. I'm Swati, and I'd love to know who you are, what state of prep you are in currently. Anyone can just volunteer and introduce yourself. Let me know the state of preparation you are in. You may unmute and speak. Okay, hi to the ones who just joined us. I was checking if you can introduce yourself and maybe let me know the stage of preparation you're in currently so that I can address your questions more specifically. So feel free to just unmute, speak, and let me know who you are. I know what civil's preparation does to us. We lose the art of speaking, right? All right. I hope you all, yeah. So yes, if you can let me know how you are preparing for prelims, how is it going? Where are you facing challenges? That would be great. Okay. So as we keep going forward in the session, I expect you all to feel free, ask questions because I don't usually teach in a monotonous way. It's lots of discussion and dialogue in our classroom. So I expect you all to participate and ask me questions and clarify any doubts you have. I'll just do a brief presentation on what I think you should be doing now with less than 90 days left for prelims. This is just my opinion. Please feel free to customize it according to your needs and feel free to ask me for any clarifications. This is a general plan I'm laying down. So with prelims less than 90 days, I'm presuming you must be in one of these three positions. One, you haven't started your prep yet. You're somewhere midway, not sure, not sure where, and must be confident, right? So people who don't start yet, usually they might have cleared already or written mains multiple times or didn't clear but not keen on strategy because you must have started your preparation already if you didn't clear your prelims before, or if you haven't written means, or if you haven't started, or if you haven't finished your syllabus already, you must have started your prelims by this time. And if you're somewhere midway, you're not sure which direction you're heading in, you should be focusing on three things. What are the essential reads? You should be practicing, means your tests, and you should be revising. If you're confident, all that you need to do is revision and mock tests. So this is my general observation of students. Some wouldn't have started yet. You know, these students, especially not keen on strategy, they'll be doing their optional now. They'll be doing their main syllabus now. They'll be focusing on answer writing now. No, this is not the time for regrets. You know why you will be doing optional or main syllabus now? Because you're regretting that you haven't done this before. You're regretting that there's a schedule lag in last 6 months and you want to patch up all of that at this moment. And you also think that we only have 70 or 80 days between prelims and mains. So let me gain some ground on mains. Let me gain some ground on optional. Let me gain ground on answer writing. And you will be doing all these things. If you haven't finished reading your prelims basics, if you have not cleared your prelims already, if you're doing this, you're doing wrong. Please do not spend a minute on your mains if you're not confident about your prelims, because prelims is getting extremely difficult year on year. There's lots and lots of competition. Please be mindful of the competition. Get ready to prepare for the uncertainty of prelims exam. Practice sufficiently so that you are at least ready to face the uncertainty in exam hall. Because how much ever you may prepare, ultimately the exam can be surprising. It can puzzle you. So you're only preparing for the uncertainty, not preparing to master each and every current affairs, each and every question. No, preparing for the uncertainty. So point number one that I want to say, if you are prepping for mains, wrong. Given that not cleared already or not very confident of clearing this time or not finished prelims prep. If you are in any of these situations and you are preparing for mains, you are doing it wrong. Please stop. Switch entirely to prelims. Fine. With that statement, let's now move on to what you should be preparing now. Because I'm presuming most of you should be in this phase. You're midway. You're midway. Not sure where you are. You are having your doubts. You cannot assess what your current position in prelims is. You don't know clearly how to use mock tests, what you should be reading, what you should be revising, how many times. So this is where I'm presuming most of you could be. So for that, I'll just lay down few principles. First, 4 principles and 3-pronged strategy. So the 3-pronged strategy, just as usual, read your basics, test what you read, revise. Simple. Static, current affairs. Test, previous year questions, mocks. Revise all that you have read. Simple. Revision on a daily basis and on a weekly basis through a test. What are the 4 principles? Have a plan. At least now. Take a pen and paper, log down each day, divide each day into static, current affairs, some facts, some tests, or some revision. Divide your day on these 3 prongs, and then have a time for each of this. Cleanly from now till June 10th or till June 17th, because last 10 days you can't plan much. Have a plan and learn to do same things at same time every day. Every day. So let's say every day morning you're waking up at 5 o'clock and trying to memorize facts. Facts could be your constitution articles, facts could be map, facts could be national parks, facts could be biodiversity, reserves, facts could biosphere reserves. Facts could be travelers from ancient India, medieval India. Facts could be culture, paintings, theater, and all, right? So we have a variety of facts in each and every area of syllabus. You have to remember these facts. Set aside a time every day. Let's say 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Or if you sleep late in the night, you wake up at 11 a.m., 11 a.m. Read facts for 30 minutes, memorize. If you do this practice every single day from now on, by the time you wake up, your mind is ready to go grab a fact and memorize it. In 30 days, the amount of facts you can memorize, you will be stunned to see how many you will be able to capture and memorize. So have same things to do at the same time every single day, because the power of routine is immense. So if you're writing a mock test every day at 7 p.m. in the evening, your mind will automatically push you to write that test after 5 days. That's the power of a routine. Don't miss it. Next, if you fall back, don't feel bad. You may fall back on schedule. Some of you might be having a plan already. Some of you might be doing the same thing every day. But we fall back sometimes. There will be 2 or 3 days when you can't read at all. Just plug in your earphones, listen to the DNA or some news analysis by any institute which are available on YouTube. Listen to them, right? Or listen to some current affairs, news magazines issues. So anything, just do them for half an hour on your very bad day. Try and listen. Try and listen something to just get back on track. There will be days where you can't study at all. It's okay. Finally, and most important, stay healthy. The impact of global warming is to be seen. It's getting extremely hot. If you look at the temperatures, they're already soaring right in April, right? So keep yourself hydrated, maintain good sleep hours, eat good food, take care of your health, and also COVID times, protect yourself sufficiently, because you never know. Even a little ailment can have humongous effect on your preparation. So with these principles and with this strategy, I would recommend you to go ahead for the next 90 days. So another plan, another thing, if you don't have a plan, wrong. You should have a plan now. And it's okay to fall back on that plan. But if you are unable to go forward, uh, even after 4 or 5 days, do a check as to why you're unable to study. Push yourself, you have to motivate, go ahead. And try and work in a group. There can be friends, 2 or 3 friends, like-minded. Don't go for roommates just because they are writing prelims. Try and find people who are like you, who are as serious as you, whose style of preparation matches yours. Then it gets very compatible. You can prepare together. So, and they will also be your accountability partner, right? So have an accountability partner. It'll be immensely helpful. Hi, Keshav. All right. So with these principles, you can just go ahead. I'll just give you a sample idea of how a plan can look like. For example, today is 7th April. Next 8th April. I'm going to divide my day. Like I mentioned, what are the 3 prongs? Need to read the basics, need to test yourself, and you need to revise. So you should have a time slot for each of these 3 categories every single day. And it should become a routine. Same time every day. 7th April. Let's say current affairs. You have given 2 hours for current affairs. You have lots of current affairs pending. Now, what will you do for current affairs? Take any magazine that you have already read. Or if you haven't read any, start reading now. I think instead of reading magazines afresh now, what will you do? PD360. If you have read any magazine so far, revise it. If you haven't read any magazine till now, it's still okay. Read PT365, cover to cover. So you're giving 2 hours for current affairs every day. Let's say PT365, polity, 50 pages or maybe 40 pages. That's it. Tomorrow, 8th April, PT 365, polity remaining. Right? So you are dividing your day at a granular level as to what will you be reading that day. Next, you will also have some time set aside for static, 4 hours or 5 hours. What will you be reading? Polity, great. What in polity? Fundamental rights alone will take at least 3 or 4 hours. If you're reading it even for the 10th time, fundamental rights chapter alone will take lots and lots of time. So, fundamental rights alone. Next day again, polity, you may be reading DPSP, fundamental duties, emergency, plus basic structure. And then what is the third prong of your day? What should be the other vertical of the day? Revision. So 30 minutes every day morning. What are you revising? If you're reading polity now, you're going to revise ancient India, chapter 1, 2, in 30 minutes only. Just the facts that you have highlighted, grab them, remember, try and remember or note down in a small fact sheet, finish. Like that, again, medieval India, some other. All the texts or all the subjects that you have finished, give at least 30 minutes every day for revision. Next and most important, test. Definitely test yourself on a daily basis. What I suggest my students is set aside 1 hour, but test yourself on previous year questions on a daily basis. So if you're reading polity now, especially polity on fundamental rights, that's what you're reading currently. So I suggest solving previous year questions on fundamental rights on a daily level. Here you're solving previous year questions on DPSP, fundamental duty, emergency. There are some texts which clearly categorize your prelims questions subtopic wise for each subject. Get a grab of such texts, right? And use them. So on a daily level, test yourself on previous year questions, because you may not be fully ready to solve a full test, right? Now, after 7 to 10 days of reading polity, you are ready to take sectional test. Sectional test 1, sectional test 2. Set aside 2 days. Analyze those tests end to end. So it's not enough if you're writing a test, you have to analyze a test. So I'll give you some principles for analysis also. Test analysis. I'll tell you how to do that. Here we are, right? So this is a sample day. Every day at the same time, you're doing the same thing. So you do this practice for 7 days from now. I'm sure you will master. So you're going with a clarity that PT 365 won't be finished in 1 day. PT 365 polity needs at least 2 or 3 days. So what are you doing? I'm going to study for 2 hours, current affairs for 2 hours. In that 2 hours, I'll finish these pages of PT 365 polity. Those many you finish. That's it today. Tomorrow you go, another target, finish. So you won't be overestimating your capacity with a granular schedule. And at the same time, by the end of the day, if you look at it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks, right? You'll at least be ticking off 2 tasks. 1, 2. It will give you a sense of accomplishment. If you have many little tasks to do, by the end of the day, you will leave satisfied that I have done something. And if you do this practice for 7 to 10 days, I'm sure you'll get very comfortable. You may lag behind on schedule. I'm not saying you'll meet all your targets 100%. That will never happen. No policy is perfect, right? So there will be lapses. But you know where you're lagging. Specifically, okay, these chapters of polity I've left behind. These chapters of ancient India, I need to revise more. So have a plan. right? So that's what we discussed. You should have a plan. Make a plan, daily level, which includes all these three categories of reading, testing, revising. The things we have to read, current affairs and static. So set aside some time for current affairs and some more time for static on a daily basis. You have to test yourself daily because you're preparing for an exam. You're not just reading for fun, right? So you have to test yourself on a daily basis. That can be previous year questions or that can be marks as per your choice. But I definitely recommend that you solve previous year questions of the same chapter that you're reading that day, and then take sectional tests at the end of the week once you finish that subject. Set aside time for revision every single day. Revise facts you may forget frequently. Revise any confusing chapters that you have left over, and do some weekly tests of the syllabus that you have finished. That will keep you in a revision mode constantly. So set aside times for these three on a daily basis. That is the plan. Learn to do the same thing at the same time every day. And you may fall back, it's still okay. Don't feel bad about it. And more importantly, stay healthy. COVID and extremely hot summers. Right. So these are the principles, and that's the strategy I wanted to emphasize. Because I'm presuming that most of you here are in this category. You're not very sure where you are exactly and which direction you have to take. Then how to do test analysis. First and foremost, why should you write tests? Second, how many tests should you take? How to analyze your performance? For the first question, why should you take tests? There are three goals I tell my students for which we are writing tests. And actually, let me give a disclaimer. You're not writing tests for ranks or scores. That's my approach. Not for ranks or scores. But why? To test your static knowledge, there are at least, in our conventional test series, there are at least 40 to 50 questions which are directly lifted from your static textbooks, right? From your spectrum, from Lakshmikant, from Ramesh Singh, from Shankar IAS. You have those questions which are static, which can be answered just with combination of memory and analysis. So we should not go wrong on those questions. So if you're asked who appoints governor, who appoints Chief Justice of High Court, Chief Justice of Supreme Court, you should not go wrong. Even if they twist the words, you should not go wrong. So to test the basics of your subjects, you should use test base because they are making decent questions on them. Second, you should know how to laterally think and interpret. So there are some questions which are highly applicative in nature. For example, related to biodiversity, they may give you some convention or some gathering which has words related to climate change. So IPCC has nothing to do with biodiversity, right? Similarly, UNFCCC has nothing to do with biodiversity. Similarly, there's Global Environmental Facility, which may not have anything to do with sustainable development. So these are some commonsensical logics which you should know over time. That's where our test series help us understand. If we are able to wisely eliminate few stupid options and arrive at our closest to possible answer. So for this lateral thinking and interpreting also, use test series. It's okay. Some test series go far and try to stretch you on facts, on nitty-gritties, on only, and all such stupid stuff. Ignore them. If you feel that the question is stupid, it is stupid. We are wise enough to say what is right and what is good and what is bad. Trust your wisdom sometimes. It's okay. They are doing stupid stuff, but largely they are successful because many toppers have vouched that test series have helped them in clearing prelims, right? So I do believe test series have helped me as well in clearing prelims multiple times. So I would say it's okay. Use them, but have the wisdom to say they are stupid sometimes. You are wise. Simple. So to laterally think, interpret also, some test series questions will help you. There are at least in good test series, there are at least 10 to 20 questions like this. And finally, for some facts, I see that some students are writing test series only to remember questions. That is a very wrong and tedious way, because you can never know what 100 questions UPSC may ask you. And after all, in those 100 questions, at least 30 will be directly from your text, another 30 from your current affairs. So how you play around these remaining 40? Just through interpretation, by elimination, through your intelligence and common sense, that will help you clear the exam, right? So why are you trying to remember so many facts from these tests? It is a waste of your memory. I would say use your intelligence to eliminate. Use your intelligence or train your intelligence to guess. Train your intelligence to just look at the question and draw parallels from your general understanding. So bring in your general intelligence. Don't try to remember, but don't accumulate knowledge. There's a difference between knowledge and intelligence. When you're trying to solve hundreds of tests only to remember facts, you're thinking that knowledge will help you. But what I am proposing is intelligence will help you crack this exam, not just knowledge. Because I have so many friends who are heavy on their knowledge. Their general knowledge levels are extremely high, but they may not be able to crack UPSC because it is an intelligent exam. Of course, it is going towards these facts and testing knowledge also. That exam is also taking that direction. But still, intelligent people are able to confidently clear the exam. So I would say train your intelligence. Train it. It's possible. When we speak of artificial intelligence, I suppose you all have read your SNT well, right? So what do we say in artificial intelligence? We are artificially creating intelligence to a machine which does not have neurons, right? How are we creating intelligence artificially? By giving it lots and lots of data, right? And what else? We are writing algorithms so that it can find patterns in data, patterns. And then it is running these patterns multiple times and is able to predict outcomes. That is intelligence. You are accustoming your mind to read the subject multiple times, revising, revising, revising. Read current affairs multiple times, revise, revise, revise. Solve tests so that you understand the nature of questions. Again, you're training your intelligence. You're giving lots of data to your mind, but same data, not different. Same text you're seeing multiple times. Then some patterns emerge in your mind. You'll be able to see between the lines. You'll be able to look at the same subject differently. So you're giving data, and through tests, you're helping your mind to find those patterns and finally to predict outcomes. So I would say the practice of reading, revising, and testing is critical to train your intelligence. This is my proposal. Don't go for rote methods, because you may see 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 facts, but you will never feel intelligent enough to apply that fact in the exam hall. Understand the difference between these two and choose a strategy that suits you. Moving back, how to analyze your performance, right? So this is where we were. You should, yeah, why you should take this? You may get some facts, especially on subjects like Buddhism, Jainism, some national parks in news, which you may have missed in your current affairs magazines or in your static textbooks. There will be some interesting facts. Please take note of them. Don't take note of every little fact. Some interesting facts that you feel may be important. How will you know what is important, what is not? Intelligence again. You look at previous year questions repeatedly. You will understand where UPSC is going. In polity, it veers towards the difference between legislature, executive multiple times. It confuses you about executive heading legislature sometimes. It confuses you on appointments, especially on different appointments. It will try and confuse you on the nature of bills, right? So how does this intelligence come? By looking at previous year questions. So look at previous year questions on a daily basis so that you will know what facts are important to pick from your weekend test. Write those facts, keep a small notebook, nicely revise them periodically so that by the end of your first round of reading, you will be comfortable. If you finish previous year questions, you've written down some facts, you've solved some tests. So you go for your round two, you are much more confident. Now, how many tests should you write? There's no ideal number to this. You can write as many as you want, or you need not write many, right? So the ideal number, just give me a minute. Yeah. So there's no ideal number, but I would say solve all previous year questions and take at least 2 sectional tests for each subject. So for example, polity must be divided into 2 subtests. Similarly, history, there should be 2 for ancient medieval culture 1, freedom struggle and modern 1. Economy also there could be 2. Environment there will be 1, SNT there could be 1. Geography also there could be 2, 1 for physical geography, 1 for economic and human geography. So take all these sectional tests, at least 1 or 2. For environment SNT 1, for all the other you need 2 sectional tests. So that comes to around 8 to 10 level 1 tests solved along with your first round of reading. So even if you start now, it will take you 40 to 50 days to finish your round 1. So once you finish round 1, you'll also be finishing 10 solid tests, sectional tests. And in round 2, some test series are giving advanced tests, but if you don't have advanced tests, in second round, you can start solving full length tests. I'd recommend at least 5 or 6 full length tests for you to gauge your patterns and arrive at your ideal number of attempts. So that is for round 2. That's my recommendation. So maybe 10 to 15 tests on the whole. 10 here, 15 there, right? So 15 tests, a minimum of 15 tests, including sectional and full length. I would recommend that number. How to analyze your performance? This is the key. So look at the questions that you definitely know, but marked wrong. So have an Excel sheet for each test. You should have these. You definitely know you got right. You definitely know you got wrong. These are the key determinants of your final attempt. In your final exam, you cannot go wrong on questions that you definitely know, right? So this number should reduce over a period. Next, you're doubtful, got right. You're doubtful, wrong. In this doubtful wrong, you can further see where's your doubt. Is it in one option or is it in 2 options? And then you can have one last column, which is should not mark, should not go wrong. So there will be some questions which you should not touch. They're blunder facts. You cannot even stretch your thought to answer them. I think there's a question on Stanakwasi in 2018. Very, very difficult. Unless you have read. How would you say it is Buddhism or Jainism? Again, in Buddhism, Jainism, they give some subsects. How would you guess that? Very difficult to guess. So you should not touch such questions. Your test series should train your intelligence to tell you which questions should not touch. Right? So should not mark at all. So analyze all these. The number in definitely no but wrong should keep reducing. The number in doubtful right should keep increasing, and should not mark should keep reducing. So this is where you potentially have negatives. This is where you have lots of positives to take away. This will be the determinant. How many rights you are able to guess. Sometimes even if we eliminate one option, we'll get the answer. Sometimes even if you eliminate two, you don't have. So here you should be able to. If you have only one option left, you can confidently go with that. But if you have two options left on which you have no clue, reduce such attempts. Or maybe you can attempt if you go for 98, 99. If you want to go for such numbers, then feel free to go. But if you're someone who plays very cautiously, then don't touch such questions, or analyze how you are marking such questions where you don't know two options, how your performance is on such questions. On questions where you don't know any of the three options, that is where you need lots and lots of training, or luck, I would say. You may be lucky, but in you don't know one option, you don't know two options, you can train yourself to answer them. At least 20 such questions, 15 to 20 such questions will determine your fate. Even if you get 7 right and 8 wrong, it's what? 14, 8 into, let's say 9, means 6. So you'll get a net 8. So that's how it is. You can still go for the numbers in this mid-level. Go for the numbers. It will just give you a net positive. As long as you train, as well as you train yourself to get at least half right in these questions, you are successful. Doubtful right should keep increasing. That's where mock test will help you. This is my proposal. Now off to doubts. You are free to ask. Okay, Sampada asked, hi ma'am, I wrote mains this year but couldn't clear. Still preparing my optional and mains GS1 paper. Please guide me how I can divide my schedule. Sampada, how confident are you with your prelims? Have you finished your current affairs? Reading your static? And what was your margin? Okay, you need not start, it's okay. But what was your margin last year? Okay, you scored 120. That's brilliant. So you must be feeling largely confident. Have you finished current affairs? Every month? Are you up to date? Okay. Do you read magazines? Did you read magazines last year? Are you reading magazines this year? No, you didn't read last year as well. Only newspaper. Okay, brilliant. So you can follow the same strategy again, Sampala, and PT365. Brilliant. So I would say what your maybe till 60 days left for prelims, you can go ahead with the direction you're going in, but don't neglect prelims much. So maybe what you can do is give time for current affairs or PT365. At least give some 2 hours on a daily basis. And then solve a test. At least in subjects where you are comfortable. I think polity doesn't need much revision, right? Maybe economy doesn't need much of a revision. What else doesn't need revision? I think environment also shouldn't need much revision. Environment, geography, and history are usually, yes, environment, geography, history need generally revision because they have so many facts to memorize. But polity and economy, you can start taking tests in them, start taking sectional tests. Okay. And do your current affairs daily. Very, very important. That's it. You can maybe give 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 hours a day for your prelims from now. Don't neglect it, but at the same time, you need not give too much time. Last 60 days, you can aggressively get on to prelims. For now, you can go ahead with what you're doing. And maybe instead of dividing your time between optional and GS1, even for mains, I would recommend go for one among these two and finish it solidly. So take optional and complete it consolidated, because GS1, as long as you stretch, it keeps stretching. So I would say there's no point wasting time on GS1. It's just for 250 marks, out of which 70 marks is for society, right? Which is just current affairs. So you're preparing for 180 marks. I would recommend preparing, and even in these 180 marks, at least 70 to 80, you can answer from your current level of reading only. So you are preparing for 100. And if you're reading world history or post-independence, you're preparing for 20, 30 marks. Instead, I would recommend prepare for 500 or at least for 250. It will confidently push you ahead in your rank list this time. So don't waste time on GS1. By splitting your time now, go for option. Wrap a paper. If need be, write some tests also. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Abhijit, how to build that exam temperature? Because however we study, there will be only 35 to 45 questions, you know. Yeah, Abhijit, that's the case always. So training yourself, that's it. I know that I remember a quotation by Jiddu Krishnamurti, I think. He says, human wants to settle for answers. We all want a definite answer. And in that chase for answer, we have invented complex systems just for one answer. Very complex systems. We call it religion, we call it philosophy, multiple paths. But instead, embrace the uncertainty. That's what I would propose. UPSC prelims is uncertain. Accept it. 40 questions. You can get ready by training yourself on static. Another 30 questions, you can definitely get yourself ready by practice and revision. Revise, revise, revise. Same text, revise again and again. Still, there will be uncertainty. One day before exam, even the topper will feel underconfident. That is the nature of prelims. What do? Just be mentally relaxed, get ready, and in the exam hall, go deliver all that you know. So, how will practice help you beforehand? It will give you an estimate of how you are doing on these 40 questions and 30 questions. You will understand, okay, I think I'm largely good on these areas by checking yourself repeatedly. So, practice sufficiently enough that your intelligence can override your emotions. That is it. So, after a point, we know there will be a gut feeling that, yeah, I'm going to clear prelims, right? Or I may not clear prelims. There will be a sense of that feeling. That is our intelligence. Our mind is telling us. Now, don't let that emotion or anxiety override your intelligence. If you're feeling too overwhelmed about uncertainty, just accept that, yeah, this exam is uncertain even for rank 1. Natural. So all you have in your hands, same static text, same current affairs, same test. Everyone is doing the same. So repeatedly doing that, revising, analyzing your performance in your practice tests, you'll get yourself ready to override your emotions. That's it. Keep practicing a lot. That will definitely help you, Abhijit. I still haven't finished the whole syllabus and I'm freaking out as every day passes. My economy and science and tech syllabus are still pending. Whereas for the rest, I've finished one reading. Very good. Do I revise those I finished once or finish the unfinished syllabus first and then start revising whole thing along with this? Yeah, Kritesh. I would say there's not much for you to read in SNT, right? But for the basics of biotech, nanotechnology, some space, very little facts. Um, and understanding this technology is also very easy. So give some time to finish off the unfinished syllabus. And the economy is very important also. So you can't keep it for a later time. So what do? Finish your pending first, along with your current affairs, revision tests, and facts. So in that daily schedule template that I gave, give priority to finishing these two first. Economy may take a week or 10 days for you to wrap. Science and tech may at least need just 2 or 3 days, maximum 2 days. That's it. And then you're ready for revisions, right? And simultaneously, we have a revision schedule every day, right? In that revision part, you can give time for any of the subjects where you're not so confident. Let's say polity you read, but you're not very confident. Give time for polity, 2 or 3 chapters every day. Read for 1 hour and start solving tests. Yes, along with current affairs. That is compulsory. If you have not finished current affairs already, you should give more time. If you have finished current affairs already, reduce your time for current affairs. See, for example, I'll tell you how your day can be. So today is 7th April, tomorrow is 8th April. Just as usual, static, current affairs, revision, and test. Same, template is same. Because it's nice, no? You have 4 actions to do every day. So static SNT, maybe space, biotech, nanotech. Current affairs, PT 365. If you have already read all your magazines, great. You can reduce your time for current affairs. Give 1 hour only. If you haven't read, give 2 hours. Revision, you read Ancient India. 3 chapters. Some 3 chapters, write down. Test, solve previous questions. Like that. So first finish SNT, then finish economy also. And simultaneously in your revision, you can read any other subject for 1 hour. That's it. So this can take you five hours. Current affairs, 1 hour. 1 or 2 hours, depending. So let's say 2 hours, 5 plus 2, 7 hours. Revision you are doing for 1 hour, 8 hours. Previous year question, 1 to 2 hours. 10 hours you have your schedule. If you can push till 11 and 12, increase your static time. Okay, thank you. How to handle CSAT? Even worked hard in CSAT last year. I can't manage well in CSAT, especially at the day facing issue. I really don't know that because of my fear at CSAT or because of exam pressure. Yeah, Vishnu, very important question. CSAT. Many brilliant students lost due to CSAT last year. It is due to exam pressure, not that you don't have the aptitude for it. Just the exam pressure. So what do? Solve all CSAT previous papers. All. Take them now. And divide CSAT English and quant, right? At least on the basics of quantitative aptitude. Distance, mixtures, some DI questions. You cannot solve puzzles in the moment of exam. So don't touch questions on puzzles. They're useless, right? They will just pressurize you. So if you are a person who can solve puzzles naturally, touch puzzles. Otherwise, don't. So touch those questions which you can confidently answer. So go through the paper, pick those 30-40 questions which you can answer. If you are very good with English, go ahead with solving all comprehension. And then pick those 5 or 10 quantitative and reasoning. And I'm sure they have assumption reason every year. So train yourself on assumption reasoning, on some basics of quantitative aptitude. These areas you should master. At least 3 or 4 areas of quantitative aptitude which are coming again and again. And some on DI, at least 1 or 2 methods of DI, how you quickly solve DI. And then inference, logical inference, assumptions. So all these. Train yourself on the repeated and easy areas first. Don't touch puzzles. And all you need is 70 marks, right? So English and 5 to 8 questions here, because luckily it's for 2.5 marks, right? Even if you get 8 questions right, you're getting 20 marks, isn't it? And English, if you can get 50, job is done. So practice previous year papers, give aside some time for these, quant and reasoning. Take one area every day and solve them. You can cut down your static time, because I remember you were very good with your paper one last year. Yeah. I know there is only 90 days remaining, but still I'm wasting my time in social media and all. How to overcome? See, I would say motivation is not very helpful here. You need some rituals. Yes. So set aside, give away your phone to someone, switch it off, ask any friend to support you. Tell yourself that you study for 5 hours, then open social media for half an hour, and then 5 hours, half an hour. You need to work on it aggressively. Okay. So, what you can do, hand over phone to someone, preferably a close person. Ask a friend to be your accountability partner, to monitor the number of hours you are spending on social media. Set time limits for your app usage, and the password for that app can be set by your accountability partner, right? um, and then please go for some workout every day if you're not already. So let your mind get that dopamine kick from something else, not from your phone. So talk to friends, go out for a walk, long walk, jog, workout, something that that will satisfy your mind's anxiety more than a social media can, right? Because social media creates that need for dopamine. It is constantly putting you on that loop of anxiety. So you're solving that by pushing your body, because studies have proven that staying physically active will reduce anxiety levels, will reduce the need for dopamine kick in your mind, in your brain. So try and work out. Do try one of these methods and let me know. But you have to work on it. You have to like push yourself to get out of that zone. Like, throw your phone out. If need be, throw it out. Just give away the phone to someone and get a normal Nokia phone. But you need to take those radical steps. You cannot overcome social media addiction with simple steps. It is a big addiction which you cannot overcome, at least in 90 days. You cannot overcome with simple motivation techniques. No, it needs a big push. So throw out that phone. Yeah. How to improve speed reading. Finishing paper before 45 minutes is easy while doing in mock, but not in exam again. Exam pressure. Okay. Um, hmm. It could be Vishnu. So I would recommend instead of going through the whole paper, just read the headings. Okay. So read headings, or if you're finding it still time taking, go for DNA or DNS. I don't remember. I think it's DNS on YouTube by Byju's and Rao's. Any of the two. Go for them. Don't waste your time on reading newspaper at this time. Not needed. Or if you can, just read the headings Just by looking at the heading, you'll understand if that is important or not. Because anyway, if there is an important fact in that, it will be covered in magazine for sure, no doubt. There are friends who don't read newspapers but just do their PD 365 and magazines, right, and clear prelims. There are people like that. So don't worry much about missing that one fact, because like you mentioned, in this exam pressure we think that each article is important, but no, not all articles are important, right? You know it. Some are just useless. You dig for 10 minutes into the article and you may not even get one important fact for your prelims. Not need. Okay, question paper reading speed. Oh, okay. Question paper reading speed. No, I would say, was it difficult for you in the exam hall? Okay. Mm, practice more, Vishnu. I think, yeah. And sometimes these people also, the test series willfully create the questions in such a way that they are confusing. The options are in such a way that they are confusing. So you tend to spend too much time on them. Instead, I would say practice previous year questions. That will resolve this problem, because if you look at previous year questions, they're more commonsensical, no? So go for them. Practice all previous year, solve all previous year questions, and some tests, some full length tests. That's enough for you. All right. I'm a college student prepping for 2022. I've read basic NCRT, now started to read standard books, but my revision plan seems too weak. Can you guide me how to manage revision of NCRT along with first reading of standard books, and also guide me regarding current affairs, whether I have to read earlier CA or not? Yeah, you're preparing for 22, Tanmay. Great. All the best. You have to no start with current affairs and go ahead from now. Don't go back. Waste of time. Revision of NCRT and standard books also. Um, See, for 22, let me take the question more comprehensively, because I can't answer it in one or two lines. It's a very big strategy. Um, I would say just set aside some time for NCRT revision if you want. Even if you don't revise now, it's okay. Finish because you finished NCRT. Go ahead to standard textbooks. Use any test series questions to crack, to keep practicing your understanding from NCRT. That's enough. Need not go to the books again and revise. Instead, focus on grasping the content from standard textbooks clearly. That is your focus. Yeah. And Tanmay, just do ping or reach out once. They'll help you with any further questions for 22. Where can we find good marks similar to UPSC pattern? Most UPSC questions are lengthy, well marks. Yeah, Rohan, this is the problem. I recommend going for Vision IAS and Forum IAS. They have good tests. You can try them. There are flaws in all test series, I don't deny, but still, at least they're able to keep up the standard. Vision IAS and Forum IAS. I recommended them to my students as well. You can try. So where they are stupid, like I told you, use your wisdom. Simple. Anything else? All right. So do stay. Okay, there's a question. Hi, ma'am. How to approach paper? Many toppers suggest rounds in that, but most of the times I get confused whether to attempt it there itself or leave it. I finished test in just 80, 90 minutes where my score fluctuates from 1800 to these rounds actually helping the exam hall. Yeah, actually, I would say go for rounds because it's a good technique. Um, Sometimes it happens that any lateral thought may not strike us immediately in round one. Uh, I would say in round one, mark those questions which are very sure of. there will definitely be 20 or 30 questions, which you are very, very sure of. Mark them and don't seriously revisit them in round 2. Okay. Because if you visit each and every question again in round 2 of round 1, you may spoil some. So just by looking at a question, our mind will communicate an answer. Go for it. That's round 1. But we may be stuck with few options or just need some deep stretching. Keep them marked for round 2 because the idea may strike you later. At the heat of the moment, it may not strike you. The question may not sink in also. Sometimes due to exam pressure, it is harmful. And one more reason why you need to use rounds is the questions that you're very comfortable or confident may be at the end of the paper. So in 30 to 40 minutes, our goal should be to go through the entire paper, all 100 questions at once. Because first 25 questions could be very difficult, but last 25 questions are cakewalk for you. It could be the case. If you're using only linear method of going, then what's the problem? You will suffer because last 25 questions are your stronghold and you have exhausted your mental capacity by then. So first 30, 40 minutes of exam, you are still fresh. You're still ready to go for the kill. So in those 40 minutes, let your brain see all 100 questions. All 100. You should touch all 100 questions in round 1 as quickly as possible. 45 minutes at max. Sometimes now the papers are getting lengthy, so it may take us 1 hour 15 minutes also, but still it's okay. After round 1, we may be finishing round 1 75 minutes. Still okay. Go through all 100 questions. Mark your 30 questions which you are confident in, and there will be 40-50 questions which you have doubts. Go for round 2. In round 2, you have already at least struck off some options or identified, okay, I may be good here, I may be wrong here. So using those eliminations in round 2, you will be able to mark another 30-40 quickly. So by the last 10 or 15 minutes, you will be left with some 10 questions usually. So these are high risk questions. So take extreme caution while marking these because we may just mark out of emotion there. We'll not have much time to think. We'll just mark them like that. I did that mistake in 2019 and I got all 3 questions, right? It costed me dearly that year. So be careful with these last 10-15 minutes and the questions you're going to mark. Usually they may be the questions which you should not mark. So don't touch them, strike them off. In the first round itself, mark the questions which you know, you mark the answer, which you have a doubt, maybe you can circle, which you should not mark, strike them off like this. You should not even see the question. Okay. My friend says even don't do that because you may know a bit of it. I would say some questions we definitely know that we will not be able to answer. It's a waste of time to spend even 1 second on them. That's what I would suggest. All right. Okay. And do all of this in practice in your mock test. My optional is Anthro and I had, thank you. And I prepared only paper 1 and that to 60%. How to manage this between prelims and mains because there's only 70 days. Okay, Abhijit, how good are you with your prelims? You cleared it last year or very confident this year, anything like that? Confident of prelims this time. Okay, very good. Then I think you can finish that 40%. But don't give it too much time. Okay. Don't give it too much time. Maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, you can still do. If you're very confident, like you finished. So what do you mean by confident of prelims this time? You finished all your syllabus, both current affairs, static. You solved some tests and you're scoring well. You're doing decently on all revisions and all. You're almost up to date on your prelims. Then you can do a bit of your optional. That's fine. You can give 3 hours, 3 to 4, 2 to 3 hours. You can definitely do. Yeah. Yeah, finish that part of option paper one. It will be helpful. Can you arrange separate session for those who are preparing for 22? Yeah, sure, Tanmay. Definitely. We will do that. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Okay, guys, then take care. Take care of your health. All right. All right. Bye bye. All the very best. You can keep in touch with Reach Out anytime you want. You can ping. You can get in touch with me through him. All right. Bye. Have a good day.